Hi, everybody. If you follow my channel, you know that I've mostly been shooting black and white film, and that's going to continue to be my thing. That's where most of my passion is. However, I recently spent a lot of time going through some of my older photos, which were mostly color, and I also have been motivated to think more about printing and making a photo book. Right, I've decided I'm going to make a photo book, and been going through my library of photo books and deciding which ones I like and right, what I like about them. And that's sent me through a lot of like Alex Webb, William Allard, Harry Greer, right? These like masters of Kodachrome. And my appetite for color photography is sort of at an all-time high over the last few years. And black and white, of course, right? That's going to still be true for me. But, working in some color photography. And I was on a trip, right? I took my family up to the Seattle area just for the weekend, and I took like 7 rolls of black and white and 1 roll of color, and went to the Chihuly Glass Art Museum and thought, hey, this is a good chance to try a roll of color. So I'm going to show my roll, or at least, about half of it. And it's a lot of mixed lighting. So I think it's some good examples of 250D if you're curious about this. Right, I got mine. Right, so here's 250D, right, from Royal We Film Lab. They have OneLot Film Co. Film company, right? So this is Kodak's Vision 3 250D film, daylight balanced. It has the anti-halation layer on it, and OneLot is bulk rolling this into like some like used Kodak canisters. It's DX coded, and it's $8.99, which is a solid dollar or more cheaper than anybody else is doing it. So now $8.99, right? Compare that to like a portrait price. It's like, whoa, you're saving a lot of money. You do sort of pay for it more on the back end, though. Processing sort of balances it out, right? Somebody's got to remove that rimjet layer, so you're talking about somebody's manual time. So like here I did, I had it developed by Royal We as well. So, right, the processing and the scans, right? So these are high quality TIFFs because this is a Vision 3 film that's been made for color grading, right? So I wanted full resolution TIFFs with maximum workability, right? Best that the Naritsu could give me. So I paid for that. And figuring that if I really love 250D, that in the long run I can figure out how to process this at home, but I wanted to not have to kind of work through some experimentation and let somebody who knows how to do it for me. A little bit more about just some of these photographs that have been motivating me lately. Like here's William Allard, right? It's like I like this grain. I like the saturation. I like the way the sharpness is forming. I like the contrast. Right, it has almost like a painterly quality to it. Right, here's another good one. Right, and again, these even like aren't really cutting it compared to the prints I'm looking at. Right, but this was the best I could find online. Right, it's like almost like a painting. Right, and so some of that's like it's taking the edge, right? Film the way, right? Just sort of the way that detail is forming and the grain and the way sharpness is forming and the saturation. It sort of just has a way of looking more organic than digital typically produces, right? I don't want this to turn into, a digital in the right hands of the best editor. I don't know. Alex Webb, right? Another master of Kodachrome. Harry Greer, right? And it's like if I I can make color photographs to look like this, like maybe I would shoot some more color. All right. And also, like, I just like shooting film cameras, so that's some of it. It's like I'm just looking for the best color film for my film cameras. Now, 250D, it's daylight balanced. And again, this is a lot of mixed lighting through this roll. Maybe the last thing I'll say is I went online and looked at some like other YouTube videos and websites that talk about 250D. And I got to say my experience is a little different than what's typically out there, right? I think maybe if I can remember, I'll say more about that after I get through the roll. All right, this shot, I love it, right? It looks even better than this looked in real life. I almost didn't take the shot, but it turned out nicely. Right, and if there's any sort of color cast in maybe like the highlights, like again, I found this film very workable in terms of the colors in all parts of it, the shadows, the midtones, the highlights. Right, that's sort of what it's supposed to be, right? It's not a film where, right, even with the TIFF, you're just sort of stuck with the color palette, right? This I found, and again, if I can think of it towards the end, I'll show some editing of just how flexible the colors are. Here's my son George. So, my kids are gonna feature in quite a few of these. We're outside this is in the free part of the museum, so if you do happen to go to the Tacoma Glass Museum, you can see the admission prices, and it's a little bit like, ooh, $15-20 a person, but quite a bit of it is in the free part. So this one, my son George saw a penny, or maybe a nickel, and he's using his shadow to pretend to pick it up. And the saturation in these blues, like it's basically as much saturation as I want. I don't want to go crazy with it until I felt like I was ready to make a print. The tricky part about color, black and white's subject to this too, but like, the output, back to those, like I looked at 4 Allard prints and, sorry, I need to back up. I have 4 Allard books, and I opened them up and found photos that were in all 4, and it was sort of blew me away how I had a really strong preference for like 1 or 2 of the books over the others, right? And it's like print quality, output quality matters a lot. I can't just say, oh, these are Kodachrome pictures, they're amazing. Like it's the output, right? It is the paper, it is the printing, it is the final edits, it's the right. There's a lot that goes into, a lot of variables that go into the final output. And color photography that we share online is like, it's an infuriating workspace because, right, it's like color spaces and displays, and it's like, what are people seeing? And it can get frustrating, right? It's like, it's not a controlled print. So this one is basically like, I'm super happy with it, right? You look at sort of the tones on my son, and then sort of the saturation and color in the pool. And the grain is like so fine. It's like, it's basically, I don't want to say it's not there, because it's there, right? And this is already cropped in, right? You can see grain. It's a nice grain. Right. This one I cropped in because there's some stuff on the left that I didn't want in the photo. But, and again, there might be a little bit of a color cast in that shadow. Right, I didn't spend forever on these, but it's super easy to remove that type of thing. Let me just let me see real quick. Let's grab shadows. Yeah, there's a little bit. And again, it's like, I don't know how calibrated my monitor is, so I just don't want to obsess over tiny little tints. without knowing what I'm really outputting to. But that looks really good. Right, with the anti-halation backing, right, I should be getting pretty accurate colors, in daylight at least. Right, and I also shouldn't be getting a lot of halation. And this would be the kind of scene that would, like, halation could really wreak havoc on these colors, and it's not happening. Right, you think about, like, CineStill sells the version of this where they doesn't have the rimjet layer, right, when it goes into your camera, which means you get more speed because, like, you're almost getting, right, you're getting a lot of light that is bouncing off the back of the film and then going back into the emulsion, which changes the colors and also adds extra exposure to your highlights, and maybe that can be the look you're going for. But if you're really wanting accurate colors, sort of non-fussy colors, I think the rimjet version, right? It's the reason that they have added the rimjet, and people who shoot cinema want this film with the rimjet layer on it. This looks, yeah, I mean, this looks really good. So now we're inside. All right, this is the first one where I feel like the artificial lighting combined with underexposure wrecked my colors some. This one took a lot of work just to get any sort of color separation in it. Yeah. And this one is, like, again, this is all artificial light, right? So something like a 500T would have been better. I mean, it still looks good. It still looks good. I mean, this is just neon light, right? Like pink and blue neon lights. And that's still pretty accurate. There's a little bit of a female body theme in this part of the museum. I mean, this is really tricky artificial lighting, right? It's not just like your basic incandescent or tungsten bulbs, right? This is like mixed lighting, neon lighting. Yeah, come in here, look at this grain. It's 100%. Now, this is a mix of daylight, artificial light, neon light. Oh, this one. So this was right inside of a theater, right? Everything is red, and it was dark. It was really, I mean, you couldn't even really tell it was red, right? It was just there's just like a movie playing at the front. And this was a Hail Mary shot. I think I'm a quarter of a second. And I like it a lot, actually, right? Again, it's like, I don't, final output would matter a lot here. But I basically got exactly what I was wanting. Right, and then here I'm trying to see what I can get out of that neon light. It's like that red is like this. It's a pretty good density and brightness. Again, it's like I'm pushing up against the limits of my own monitor here, more than anything else. But overall, I think that looks good. Right, inside the museum, they have a place where you can watch the glass blowers work. So this is their studio space. Oh, I lost. There's another one in that little series. Let me see if I can bring it back. What happened to it? Is that it? I think I lost it because I did 3 little edits. Couldn't decide which one I liked best. That one. Let's bring that one back. I like that one. All right, this guy's been around for a long time. He's been around so long that he mostly just tells other people what to do. Here, using just daylight through the window to get a little picture of my wife, Barbara. Also thought this would be a good example to show, like, this one right here is what Royal We sent me back. Sort of their default editing was more of a lower contrast, right? And that's sort of what I did on most of my files, was I just pushed the contrast up a little bit and the saturation up a little bit. Right, pretty subtle, right? But I just wanted to show some examples of, like, here's what Royal We sent me, and that's my own edit. And again, I think what impressed me was, like, I almost, in terms of like the control I had over colors, it almost was like working with a digital camera. Right, and again, like, the reason I think I like film, in addition to, like, I can now use film cameras, is just that the way that sharpness and detail form, and sort of the more of the exposure curves that sort of, hopefully make things look a little more painterly. I might be talking out my butt, by the way. At the very least, just consider this as like what inspires me, right? Saw these marbles and saw, window light, daylight, marbles, test shot. I think in terms of like accurate colors, right? I think it's, all right, this is the last shot. Right, this was just my little bit of, like, Harry Greer. If you have his book is it called Between Worlds, right? It's a lot of, like, reflection shots, sort of like, it's hard to tell what's a reflection, what's not a reflection, what's, right? But this is my son Ellery here in the middle, holding the marble that he picked out. And here's a good little look at the grain, right, at 100%. So yeah, that's my first roll of 250D, and first roll of color film in a while. It's a strong start. I think people keep saying try 500T, so I will. 50D is like, it's pretty slow, but I'll try it. Yeah, do I have a favorite from this roll? I sort of like I like this theater shot. It's probably going to be one of these with the big wall. Right. I love how he kind of came here and hid. But then I also really like this kind of strut. And he has a little more posture, kind of like the glass artworks. But then I also really liked this one. Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do is, if you're interested in trying this, right, I think my recommendation would be to get a roll and send it to Royal We. And if this price scares you, just look around and you'll see that it's pretty reasonable. Again, this is somebody that's hand developing and hand, well, maybe not hand developing, but right, by hand removing your rimjet layer. And you get your scans out of this. But I'm also going to include a discount code in the description of this video that'll get you an additional 27% off of the processing. But that my discount code is becoming quite popular. So it only works for a customer one time. So this is a good chance to try it. And next on my list of things to try is this one right here. So this is on its way to me. All right, take care.